Hey y'all, how you doing? Hopefully you can hear me again. For whatever reason, my mic intermittently like shuts off now. So if you stop hearing me, just like write in chat, "Hey, we can't hear you." So you know, yeah, I put out a tweet to Focusrite and B&H Photo, so maybe somebody's going to help me with this. I don't know. But okay, so if you noticed earlier tonight, I was on McStabber Studios. Thanks, McStabber, to talk about, all of this. It was a great chat. I'll get the VOD link and I will post it on my Twitter there. If not, visit twitch.tv/McStabber Studio, and it should be there in the VODs if you're looking at this only on YouTube. I guess I could put it in the comments on YouTube here because we have that technology. But a couple of things came out during that conversation that I kind of wanted to highlight here, at least very briefly. Again, I don't think this is going to be a very long talk. These are just some things that were bouncing through my head. I think what a lot of people are overlooking in the midst of this, that some of us are very aware of, is what is called prison pipeline. Is something that is mentioned a lot. That the system, and it's easy to get people like rolling their eyes at you when you start talking about the system, but once you start noticing certain factors and certain trends, you start realizing how some things are the way they are. And I'm going to lay some statistics here on you in just a second that understand that George Floyd getting killed is not an isolated incident. I think we all know that now. I think that's part of the outrage. But George Floyd getting killed is an almost inevitable outcome of a certain set of consequences that have been put in motion expressly for profit. So let me put this to you in the simplest ways possible. And this is not conspiratorial. These are all things that you can check for yourself if you haven't witnessed with your own eyes, which is fine. You may not have noticed, especially if these things don't touch your life. But you can see that every single thing I'm about to tell you is completely true. Number one, the slave trade was never actually abolished in the United States. Never. Even the Emancipation Proclamation says slaves are freed except for prisoners. So if you go to prison, you are literally a slave. You are literally a possession of the federal government there. So the slave trade never ended. So an important point of clarification there is understanding people that are in prison are literally slaves. Remember that. File that away. In check. Read the Emancipation Proclamation. You'll see it for yourself. Number two, this whole school to prison pipeline thing that we're talking about is a disproportionate impact of police brutality being affected against people of color, especially Black males. Police brutality has affected every race, nation, and creed. We're talking about disproportionate affecting of Black people. And one of the things that I said in my talk with Bill is that there are many ways to destroy a person that don't require killing them. Giving a kid who's got an ounce of weed a 40-year-old sentence is still destroying him, literally enslaving him. And then you have to realize that oftentimes these people are giving disproportionately large prison terms for the exact same crimes. There's no logical reason why crack sentences are, in many cases, literally hundreds of times greater than cocaine sentences. And oftentimes when you hear about reform, what a sentence that used to be 100 times worse gets reduced to only 10 times worse. Oh, okay. Malcolm X had a saying where if you stab me 12 inches into my back and then pull the knife out 2 inches, is that progress? Right? Now, y'all know me. I'm the optimist. I like to try and build upon constructive stuff. I like trying to build upon the things that we can agree on and that are going in the right direction. But, there definitely, it's hard for us to be excited about that. It's like, well, we were 50 times disproportionately affected. Now we're only 10 times disproportionately affected. It's hard to get excited about that. So now understand that this kid who is holding this ounce of weed or crack or whatever and now gets a 50-year prison sentence has literally been enslaved for the rest of his life. Now, Add to that the fact that many of these prison institutions are for-profit institutions. Someone is actually making money off of that. Think about that. Think about that. Can you think of a worse industry that should be for profit than the prison system? What does it say about a society that sees that as an opportunity to make money, which a couple of years ago, Dick Cheney was heavily invested in that? I don't know. I haven't checked. Maybe he's not now, but at least a couple of years ago, that was a thing. And something that is also a thing is the proprietors of these institutions often donate very heavily to very often right wing candidates, not always, but very often right wing candidates that help prop up the system that keep disproportionately funneling people into these systems that are then disproportionately black, literally enslaving black people. Literally. Now, today, that is not hyperbole. That is not exaggeration. That is not something that I'm making up. That is not a crazy conspiracy theory. That is literally the truth. So when you talk about police brutality, the fact that people are in the streets right now marching and demonstrating because George Floyd got killed is good, and rightly so. Everything about that is correct. But understand that it is the tip of a very large and very insidious iceberg that is worth your time to learn about. If you do not know, you might know. I don't know what you know. I'm not trying to say that you don't. You might know way more about this than me, but it is worth being aware of that, because these are all choices that we as a society are constantly making. And the number one way that we're doing that is in the form of our elected officials, who then come in, do things like gerrymander, literally rig elections to give a certain section of the electorate a disproportionate voice and say in how the country should be run, and then go forward to enact actively racist policies designed to disenfranchise people. Because you guys got to remember, the transatlantic slave trade was 400 years, 500 years, 400 years and change. And coming off of that, we went right into Jim Crow, which again was economic slavery instead of physical slavery, right into the civil rights struggle, which was still about social disenfranchisement and disempowering people. And now we have a semblance of equality, which, don't get me wrong, is absolutely progress, but we still have a very, 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 very long way to go. So the reason why I'm bringing this up to you is these protests in the street will not last forever. They're going to go and, hopefully we'll get some semblance of justice. Hopefully we'll see something happen in Minnesota. I don't expect that bloated disgrace in DC to do anything constructive, but one way or another, in a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, we'll have gone back to our life and we'll have sort of like bottled our outrage again. But don't lose sight of these things, because they will still be true. Y'all, there's still children in cages on the border. Still. That didn't stop. We didn't fix that. We just stopped talking about it. And that's what they're counting on. They're counting on us to stop talking about it. They're counting on us to just look away, to become apathetic, to become overwhelmed, which is what we cannot do. So remember, your number one point of power is the ballot box in November. Speak up and be heard, man. None of this, I voted my conscience nonsense. None of this sitting this one out. We got to clear the benches this time, because the only way they will not be able to rig and steal this election is if it is just so overwhelming. It is impossible to deny. And they're going to cheat, and they're going to try literally everything, because again, Mango Mussolini knows if he loses this election, New York State's waiting on him with a whole heap and helping of charges to press against him. And he knows if he wins re-election, the statute of limitations will be up before he gets out of office. He will do literally anything. He will do literally anything to avoid facing the proper justice for the things he's done, which is weird because he's supposed to be law and order, right? He wants so badly to escape the consequences of his actions. At the same time, watching the unrest that unfolds from innocent people being destroyed constantly. Can you imagine a more selfish act than that? And it is in your hands to stop this from happening. And I don't want, pardon my French, if there's young ears here, again, I'm trying to be nice about this, but I'm about to get colorful in my language. I don't want to hear shit about you not liking Joe Biden or Green Party candidates or Jill Stein or any of that shit. I don't care. I do not care. We have an existential crisis. The heart and soul of this nation of Western democracy is on the line. We are going to know in the next 6 to 8 months what this country's made out of. And you guys think a fascist dictatorship could never happen here. There's soldiers on the street in DC. United States soldiers are prepping to do and perform acts of violence on American citizens at the behest of a bloated, out of touch, vapid, feckless dictator. Now, tonight, do not believe it is not possible that they could try and cancel the election or move the election or set the election aside. That AG Barr wouldn't say that it was disqualified, take it to the Supreme Court, loses 5-4, and we're fucked. Understand that. That is where we are now, here, now. Okay? Now I was going to lay on you all these facts and statistics about the school to prison pipeline. I'll put it in the thread when I post this, or I'll put some comments. I am going to leave you with that. I'm going to leave you with that. That there's barbarians at the gates now. Your country needs you now. Do not get rocked to sleep. Yes, justice for George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. Yes, but understand literally everything generations of people have fought for, that our ancestors fought and died for, is on the line right now. Your enemy is here, and they are very alert, and they're excited about this. Right out to meet them. Okay. I love you, though.